Take control of your life. Break the chains and rise. No more feeling powerless. No more shame. Take your power. Break out of the pain. Because it's more than fornication, more than procreation. It's not just self-stimulation. Sex energy is for creation and transformation into a new destination. Porn Talk. Yeah. Change your heart from dark to light. Porn Talk. Yeah. Break free. Take back your power and rise. I said take back your power. I said take back your power. Take back your power and rise.
This is Porn Talk. This is Porn Talk Live. Here is your host, Eric Zuzak.
Welcome to Porn Talk. This is Powerful Eric. This show is not just about breaking addictions. It's about breaking belief systems. We are bound by self-imposed and societal chains. Break those rusty, nasty, and heavy old chains and get empowered right now. Today, I've got a great guest for you today. He's a fellow co-author of Think Big. He is the co-founder of Poulsen and Company Real Estate in Meridian, Idaho. Glade specializes in new construction, real estate development, real estate syndication, and a variety of commercial investment projects in several Western states. He is an accomplished single-family and multi-family builder, developer, and real estate investor who has worked with a wide variety of small businesses as well as with national home building companies. In the past few years, Glade has expanded on other interests to become a best-selling author on Amazon. We know that. Think Big. In addition, he's the host of Why Not You podcast for up-and-coming entrepreneurs, a product of farm life from Idaho. Glade strives to convey his dedication to hard work and heart-centered relationships. Faith and fact-driven, Glade continues to expand his knowledge and his relationships while he searches for new growth opportunities. His goal is to be approachable, innovative, and coachable as he continues going the extra mile for his clients, investors. So welcome the author of Sugar Beets to Shanghai and Think Big, Glade Poulsen. Welcome, Glade.
Well, thank you, Eric. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So let's get right to it. Let's get to the meat, the potatoes. Tell us, you are wildly successful now, I would say, but it wasn't always that way. What was one of the lowest points of your life?
Oh gosh, Eric, there's been several, but I think the one that probably stands out the most. I was really having tremendous success. I was traveling in Asia, opening up countries for a nutraceutical company, and anyway, I'd done that for quite a few years. I was really on a roll, and we were having a lot of success, and I call it a day and a half in Hong Kong that ended up being 9 months. But anyway, I was in Hong Kong, and I was having some extra time, really. It was kind of a pass through. I was coming from Taiwan and landed in Hong Kong, and I had a day and a half that I had to be there. I had an event the next morning, and I went to a place, and long story short, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing the wrong things. And I was incarcerated, and I literally spent a couple of days in jail, and
Wow.
then I was charged with something that was really serious, and that ended up being um, 9 months that I had to wait for that trial. I couldn't leave the country. They took my
Oh.
passport,
Oh.
and I couldn't do. I mean, I was there, and anyway, during that period of time, probably about halfway through, I was at a point where I went in. I had to go in every single day between 2 and 5 p.m. and check into the police department there, that to make sure that I hadn't fleed, or
Yeah.
flown, or whatever the right adjective is there. And I went afterwards and got some dinner and whatnot. But I missed the last ferry. I had a little apartment on an island that was kind of remote and all alone, where I could spend some time and just think and work out and hike, those kinds of things. Wasn't a lot to do if I couldn't work, and so anyway, I missed the ferry, and I had to wait till 6 a.m. the next morning in order to get on that ferry. And so I was on the banks of this harbor where the ferry boats took off, and I was just at a very, very low point. I was extremely frustrated and very lonely, and um, I seriously considered either swimming and trying to get out of there, or commit suicide, if you will.
Wow.
I
Wow.
knew I couldn't swim very well, and I knew I couldn't go anywhere, so I knew what the alternative was,
Yeah.
right? So I sat there on the banks, and I actually called my wife at the time, and we, she literally talked me through the night. She talked me through the
Wow.
night. We talked a long time, and that was a pretty low point in my life. So
Yeah. Man, to be
whilst it was some of the very, very best of times as far as financial and success and whatnot, but a very, very low time as far as personal life.
wow. I had no idea. Wow. So tell me, so you're in another country, you're in Hong Kong, and you had to spend 3 nights or 3 days in a Hong Kong jail?
Well, actually ended up being about 7 days.
Oh,
Well, actually 3 days in a jail, and then interesting story. I was regurgitating this story last night to a good friend of mine, and so it's pretty fresh on my mind. But uh, the 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 friend of mine, I mean, I was in jail, and I thought this is going to blow over because it was just ridiculous. Well, it wasn't ridiculous to the people that were there, but it was ridiculous to me because I just knew that that was not me. And I knew that that was probably just going to blow over in a day or two.
mhm.
But there were some serious allegations. And then my attorney said, look, I'm a corporate attorney. I know a really good criminal person that you need to talk to. So I talked to the attorney, and he said, look, I know the judge that's been assigned to this case, and I need you to trust me on this. We're going to go for dismissal, but we need to go in and talk to a certain judge. And he's kind of a party judge, he doesn't, and Monday mornings, we do not want to face him on Monday morning. I can tell you, I just know the way he is, and we don't want to do that. So he said, the best day to go and meet with him is on Thursdays. So he said, that's the good news. The good news is I know this guy.
Oh,
And but the bad news is you have to leave this local little jail that you're in, and you're going to have to go to a prison.
oh my
You're going to
god.
have to go to a prison and wait,
Oh
because
my
they can't
god.
hold you here by law or whatever it was. And so anyway, They loaded me up on this paddy wagon, and me and about 12 other people, we go into this, through the back streets of Hong Kong and whatnot. And I am just, locked up. I'm kind of like a chain gang on the back of a cattle truck. I feel like I'm
Gee.
paraded around through all these streets. And then we end up at this prison. And I mean, they literally, Eric, they stripped me of everything. They took my passport and all my clothes, and they did cavity searches. And I'm, walking through this, and I end up in the cell with four other guys, one from Pakistan, one from Iran, and one from India, and myself. And
Jeez.
there I was for 4 days waiting for, my day to go in and try to get bail.
Wow. Yeah, I gotta
So
say
it was
that
wild.
that
It was
sounds like a
wild.
low. That sounds like a low.
I mean, you're
Whew.
nothing but a number. They take everything that you have, your wallet, your rings, and your clothes. That you are stripped down. You are nothing. You are a
Man,
number.
it's like, it's one thing when you're in the United States and you go to prison, but when you're in another country, oh my God, I could only imagine the fear that was welling up inside of you.
Oh, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? And then, they come through with this little bucket of milk or soy milk or something like this, and and I'm like, I'm sitting there with these other three guys, and they're kicking out. Hey, room service, and anyway, and they're like looking at me like, what is wrong with this cat? I mean, it was hilarious, but yet so frightening.
Yeah. Whew. Oh. So, and then with that vein, some of the other big challenges. I know you ended up getting divorced twice, right?
Yes, yeah, and this was my second wife, actually. Cindy. She really did walk me through and talk me through that night. And then, um, honestly, after that 9 months episode, she stood by me. She was there for me all the way through. She supported me. We got through it together, and really made some significant changes in our lives. And it was like 15, 16 years of just incredible success and journey, really. And it was just it was amazing. And then, something happened, and just it ended. And she wanted to have a divorce. And yeah, so then that started a whole nother uh journey, of trying to work through that and understand it and whatnot. But yeah, that was another really low part. And that was about 3.5, 4 years ago that happened. And so the
Mm,
last 4 years, I'll call it the last 3 years, it's been a whole new journey, another low point, but something that I just had to, wrap my mind around and understand me,
mm,
figure out who I was, and try to, pull up my big boy panties and go to work.
yeah. So there's two things there. One, when you're talking about being in Hong Kong and being put in prison, and about possibly over swimming across the river, but you knew you weren't a good swimmer, about possibly committing suicide. I get a lot of guys that I talk to actually say, "Well, I've either tried committing suicide, or uh, I did try to commit suicide, or I'm contemplating suicide." What would you say to someone right now that's listening, that's in a real low point in their life, and they're stuck in addiction to sex, porn, or drugs, alcohol, whatever? What would you say to that person?
don't do it. I mean, just don't do it, and just figure it out. I mean, there's, what I've learned, and Eric, the journey goes on. I mean, I've obviously pulled my bootstraps up and worked through some things,
Mhm.
but there are no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to figuring out these addictions. There's no shortcut, and it's hard work. Um, the shortcut is the work. That's the shortcut. The shortcut is the work. But just believe in yourself, trust in yourself, understand that there's something that we picked up early on in our life. And it could even be passed on from some of our ancestors. But we picked it up and we started to just ruminate on that. And and the self-talk. Oh my gosh, I am the king of self-talk, negative self-talk. And I picked something up early on in my life, and I just started believing my own message, and
Right.
it's wrong. I'm a Christian. I have Christian beliefs. I do believe that I am a son of God. I do believe that He loves me and He wants the best for me. But I had to get, yeah, just don't do it. Don't do it.
Ta-
Get some
ta-
help. Get some
yeah.
help.
Yeah. And talk to maybe that person about that self-talk you're talking about. So that is a critical, crucial thing that I address big time when I work with clients. And one of the positive self-talk things, like when I find myself kind of down or have meeting a big challenge, it's every day and every hour, God is transforming my pain into power. Every day and every hour, God is transforming my pain into power. So, what would you say to that person or someone else about self talk?
Well, principle. Here's a principle that I learned. Control the controllables. And let me kind of expand on that a little bit. The only thing that at least in my uh, mind, that we can control, the only thing, I can't control the economy. I can't control what the relationships, because relationships are a two-way street. The only thing that I can control is my mind. I can control what goes into it. I can control what goes out of it. It is just all about, control the controllables. I can control what I read. I can control what I say to myself. I can control what I watch and what I read and what I listen to, those types of things. And so, what I've learned is that, Think and Grow Rich. I mean, Napoleon Hill, he talks about the secret is thinking. What you think what you think about expands and grows. So control that. And it's a skill set. I've learned that it is a skill set. It's something that, we aren't born with it. We
Right.
didn't come out of the womb, and say, oh, this guy's a great thinker, or this is a doctor or whatever, or an entrepreneur, whatever it is that we didn't come out that way. These are all skill sets, and these are all things that can be learned. And some of them learn really early on in life, and some, like me, it takes 68 years to figure out just a smidgen of it, and so, but it's just like, control the controllables. And so I've gone to get help. I've gone to get um, professional help, because I can't do it on my own. I need help. And
Right.
so, and I know I mean, I've had all the negative talk, self-talk. Oh, you don't want to do that. Oh, what's that going to look like? Oh, people are going to think you're crazy. I mean, That is a bunch of baloney. Your life is worth it. Your future is as bright as your faith in yourself. So, yeah, I mean, I could go on, but and I'm really, when I'm talking to you, Eric, and talking to the people, I'm talking to myself.
Right.
And I saw you when you started to say those affirmations. You closed your eyes and you were feeling it into the absolute bottom of your heart and soul. And that's
Thank
how you
you.
became powerful, Eric.
Thank you. And you brought up a really great point.
And
Some
by the
people
way, Eric, and I don't, by the way, thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for the courage to do what you're doing and talk about these these addictions that are not very sexy and they're not very admirable, but what your work is, to at least to myself, it isn't, but your work is amazing. And I know that you're changing lives, and kudos to you, bro. And I just think that's awesome what you're doing. The
well,
courage that you have to do what you're doing.
well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. When I first was starting the podcast, it was very scary. You know, uh, I, it was scary. But I've come full circle now. I'm like you said earlier, like not caring what people think. That's kind of where I'm at now. You know, what they think, they think. So,
Yeah.
but thank you. I really appreciate it. Um, let's talk just a little bit more about some of the challenges and move over to some of the other tools that you've used. So, um, what I love what you were saying you say you're 68.
Yes.
So at 68 years old, you're still growing, you're still learning, you're still expanding. Um, so recently, like with this second divorce, like, or even from the first one, what can people that are either they're not married yet, or maybe they are married in a challenging relationship, what words of wisdom would you have for these people so they don't replicate the mistakes that you made?
Well, I'm not really the very best. I'm not the oracle of all knowledge there. I'm a two-time loser, so to speak. So, I'm not sure I'm the greatest.
Yeah, cancel, not a loser.
No, that's true. That's true. That's true. All right. The mindset, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Self-talk. Okay. I, yeah, I mean, I think just talking through some of the realities of life. I don't think that, in either of the marriages that I had, we really didn't talk about the big picture. We didn't talk about how we were going to um, discipline the kids, or who was the discipliner and who was the nurturer and who was the lover, and what are the guidelines, and unity. Being unified is probably the main thing, and what, finances, all those kinds of things. They're just talk about the realities of life. Just get past the 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 fun stuff, the love and joy and friendship and whatnot that you're enjoying, but really talk about the realities of life, and make sure that you're unified and that you have a game plan. Doesn't mean you have to agree on everything, but discuss it, talk about it, come up with a game plan, whatever that may be. All relationships are about give and take. It's not just, Stephen R. Covey talks in Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. It has to be a win-win. So you have to be unified. And then you go to work, and there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, there's going to be disagreements. But if you have that, uh, you know, that mission statement, if you will, if you have that vision of what you want, you have this creed, you have this document that says this is the way that we're going to live our lives. and then, work on it. And I know it's kind of heady stuff, but man, put in the work up front
Yeah.
rather than, down the road.
Right. So you had mentioned the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So this podcast is that, habits can make you or break you. So you talked about some of the challenges you've had. What are, if you don't mind sharing, maybe one or two of the habits that brought you down, and what are are more habits that are 3 habits that can help bring you up?
Okay. Well, that one's I'm just, what's interesting is just Saturday, I had another session with my therapist, or, my counselor, whatever you want to call, but,
Mhm.
her name is Chris Jew. She has been just absolutely phenomenal for me, and I've gone to a lot of counselors. I sought a lot of
Gotcha.
help, and and I've got a library of self development and positive mental attitude books and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
But what I and just Saturday, I went to her. My word for the year is intentional. I want to be very intentional about what I do. And so I went to her with my intention. My intention is, here I am, almost 69 years old, and I am learning that my self-talk, my self-love, more importantly, my habit of not being enough, not not smart enough, not big enough, not what didn't go to the right school, how everything looked to everybody. It really stemmed from my youth. My mom passed away when I was 6 years old, just short of my 7th birthday. And we were out on the farm, and we didn't have a whole lot of, interaction with neighbors or friends or whatnot. Our closest neighbor was a couple miles away. And so I was the youngest of 8 kids, and, we were all hurting. We were all hurting. My dad was especially hurting. So I went inside of my own head. I was a very curious kid. I was the one, why? Why do we do this? Why do we plant in the fall? Why do we plow in the fall? Why do we plant in the spring? Why do we do why? And my siblings and my dad got sick and tired of my whys. I was very curious. And when I was kind of shut down, and not they were great people. We're dear friends to this day, except for my dad. He's passed, and 3 of my siblings have passed. But I mean, we just got back from a cruise. All of my siblings and their spouses, we were in the trenches together through this, death of our mom,
Mhm.
and we're very, very close. And so it wasn't that they were bad people; they were hurting. So they shut me down. And so where did I go? I went inside of my own head to figure things out, and what TV? I mean, there was only 3 stations at the time, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and so sports was a big deal. And so where did I learn things? I learned things on TV. John Wayne, hey, big boys don't ever cry, man up, the Duke, those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
so, and sports figures, Ray Nitschke and Dick Butkus and the rough, tough guys, I mean, that was where I went inside my head, and that's where I got my answers. And and along the way, it was just like I didn't love myself. I did not do alone very well. I would come home from school, no one was in the house. I was lonely. I was crying out, "Where's my mom?" I was mad. I wasn't having the experiences that some of my classmates were having. They were dressed properly, and I wasn't. I was mismatched. My dad was colorblind. He didn't know some of the stuff that I was putting on, and my siblings were in their own world. And so I started to not be enough. I wasn't enough. And I picked that up, Eric, and I'm struggling with it until this day. My self-love. I worried about what other people thought, and it didn't look right. It didn't, it wasn't, I just didn't do alone very well. And, I was lonely. And that's, I mean, honestly, that's where in Hong Kong that night, I had a day and a half and I was alone in a different country. And so I went to, get some Mexican food in a seedy little part of Hong Kong. It was the only place that they had Mexican food. And after I had that, I went into this little nightclub that was called La Bomba, and um, I drank too much. I drank too much, and because I didn't do alone very well, not good at all.
So was drinking one of the habits that
Yeah, yeah, because I was trying to drown out. I was trying to, I was just I didn't want to be alone. And
yeah,
Jack Daniels was my only mate, I mean, so I was just like, that he was always there, if I needed him, and so I was just drowning out that running away from not knowing how to deal with being alone. And so Saturday, I go in there and I'm talking. I said, how do I love myself? And she went back into my childhood and we unpeeled some of these layers. And it was hurtful. It was hard. And I mean, I never really grieved my mom. I never really, sorted all that stuff out.
yeah,
And so, yeah, that was I was addicted, if you will. I was addicted to wanting to fit in, to be accepted.
yeah,
That's an addiction. It has been for me. And
yeah,
it's pulled me down through a lot of different business deals. I got into business deals because I wanted to belong. I wanted to look important.
yeah.
I built big fans, a 10,000 square foot house. What in the hell do you need a 10,000 square foot house for? For four people. It was so that I looked important. I am somebody. Look at me. It was an addiction.
Wow, Glade, I really am really impressed with your openness and your vulnerability. Um, and I also like the question you asked, how do I love myself? And one of the things that I've used for myself and teach my clients is to use these statements, looking at yourself in the mirror, saying, I'm learning to like myself. I'm learning to love myself, because some people can't say I like myself or I love myself. So these, I have them say, I'm learning to like myself. I'm learning to love myself. And then you get to the point where you can say, I like myself. I like myself. Then I love myself and I love myself. So I love everything you're bringing up here. So let's go over to the other side. Those are a lot of the challenges that you've had, but I know you've become wildly successful, and you have your stool, your trinity of tools. Can you tell the listeners about that?
Well, yeah, I've Eric, I've been a student of personal growth and development since my early 20s. And there's not many books I haven't read, or my truck, and car has always been a traveling library. I mean, those are, again, control the controllables. What I feed my mind, um, it's never ending. I drive around with, I mean, it used to be cassette tapes. I would wear out cassette tapes until I put scotch tape around it to keep it going. And I would just wear it out everywhere I went. And so, um, three things that I've learned through all these years, these decades and decades and seminars. And I mean, I bought the T-shirt, been to the been to the seminars, bought the books. I mean, you name it. And what I've learned, it comes down to three really pillars, as you call it, three legs of the stool, and that's what gives me the balance. Number one is our mindset. Our mindset. What we think about ourselves, what we set our mind to do, we have to have the proper mindset. Um, and then the second is vision or goals. We have to know where we're going. The good book says, if you don't know where you're going, all roads lead there, right? A man without vision has no purpose, or no, I can't remember exactly what it
People
says, but
perish.
people perish. Yeah, exactly. And so you got to you have to have vision. Your mindset. You have to have mindset. You have to have vision. You have to have goals of where you're going. And the third thing is habits. You have to have habits. Og Mandino in the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, says, if I'm going to be a slave to habits, why not be a slave to good habits? And that's
Yeah.
you alluded to earlier. Habits can either make you or break you. So if you're going to be a slave to habits, if you're going to be addicted to habits, why not be addicted to good habits?
I love that. I love that. And by the way,
I
he's
mean,
talking
that's
about,
Glade Poulsen 2 and 3, but I mean, it's that's where I've come.
you mentioned Og Mandino. He is the author of The Greatest Salesman in the World and many other very popular best-selling books. And Og, before he became successful, was also addicted. I don't know about sex or anything like that, but I do know he says that he was alcoholic big time, and then he was able to turn things around as well. So the habits.
Yeah,
So
and
you
this and
said,
this and the story of him going and buying a gun. He was ready to end his life,
to tell the
and
story,
he
please.
bought a gun. He had 30 bucks in it. He had 30 bucks in his pocket, and he walked by a pawn shop and he went in and bought a gun. And he walked outside. He was going to go end it all. He was going to walk back to his hotel. He was out of town and on business, and he bought a gun, and he heard some music from a church. It was one of those towns where there was some music going on, and he walked into the church and he gathered himself and and sought help versus ending it all. And then, it was, I don't know if it was 1 year or 2 years. It was a very short period of time later that he became the author of Success Magazine.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Wow. Great story. Your stool, the three pillars of your stool: mindset, vision, habits. If we could go through those. So mindset, you said what we think of ourselves. I stumbled on this on accident because I had tried all these different ways to quit my addictions, and I did the traditional route, which didn't work for me at all. And what I stumbled across is one day, instead of saying I'm powerless over the addiction, I just decided on the whim of creating this login and password. I thought, I'm going to put my login as Powerful Eric. And little did I know that's called identity change. And I come to discover, I listened to an Anthony Robbins podcast the other day. The question was asked, out of all the success things that you've learned, what's the most powerful one? And he said, about fell off my chair. He said, identity, changing your identity. I'm like, wow, really? So if you could speak to the mindset part of things, on what we think of ourselves, how important that is Talk to us about mindset.
Well, I think that's kind of the North Star. I think North Star is your North Star is your mindset. What do you want to be? Who do you want to become? What is your legacy? What is the legacy that you want to leave? So you have to have a mindset. You have to not kind of know where you're going. Your North Star, like I said, and mindset, and then the mindset is just, uh, maybe it's just because of my farm boy upbringing and whatnot. My dad taught me how to work, and I'm not afraid of work. I'm not afraid of work at all. I love work. There's fulfillment there. But on the farm, it was hard work. It was laborious. I mean, it was tedious. It was, I mean, you go through all the work of, in the springtime, preparing the soil and planting the seeds, and then the thunderstorms and the hailstorms come during the summer, and you're watching, you're picking out all the weeds and this and that and the other. I mean, it's just, and then finally in the fall, there's a harvest. I mean, talk about entrepreneurs. Farmers are the most amazing entrepreneurs ever because and then, they don't know what the price of the crops are going to be. They don't know anything other than, hey, there's, if I do all this, and this, there's going to be a harvest. Well, anyway, mindset. So you got to know where you're going. You have to have a mindset that I am somebody. I I I'm learning just now, Eric. Again, Saturday, I'm learning. My intention is to love myself in spite of Hong Kong, in spite of two marriages that didn't end the way that I wanted them to. I am who I am. I mean, take a sheet of paper out and put all the wins and put all the losses on a T sheet. And I think most of us, I mean, we would be surprised at how much what we have accomplished, who we are. Look at the wins. Look at the wins. Look at who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
And those challenges are the making of us. They're the making of us. I learned more through my business failures than I ever did in my uh, my successes.
Right.
I learned what not to do.
I like how you called mindset the North Star, what you're striving for, because I have clients define, like I went on to define, like, who is powerful Eric? What are his beliefs? What are his values? What are his characteristics? And that's what I strive for every day. That's my North Star, to be powerful Eric. But let's move on to vision. So you got this North Star, the mindset, your intention. Talk to us about vision.
Well, vision is goals. I mean, you got to have goals. You got to know I mean, in order for you to, I use something what I call the vision board.
Yes. Yeah.
And
One,
the
two.
vision board is on the top is the end result. This is what you want to become. This is the really it's the vision. It's the vision of where you want to be, who you want to become, the person that you want to be. And a little caveat here. Look, I'm still learning. I don't proclaim to be the oracle of all knowledge. These are principles. I'm not always the best at following these. This is what I've learned. Okay. I'm just like everyone else out here on this podcast. I make good decisions and I make bad decisions, but learn from those bad decisions and just start closing that gap, you know. But as long as you win 51% of the time, it's still a win.
Right.
you know so anyway, so the mindset is I'm going to do this. The vision is the end result, where I want to get. The bottom, Jim Collins in Good to Great series, he talks about confront the brutal facts. On the bottom of this vision chart, or this vision board, is current reality. Okay, I am on the banks of Hong Kong. I've got a trial waiting for me. This is the brutal facts. Here's the reality. This is where I want to be. Here's where I am. What are the steps that I need to take in order for me to get from where I am on the banks of Hong Kong to my end result, the person that I want to become, my goal? So you've got to know where you're going. You got to have an end result. Begin with the end in mind. Stephen R. Covey talks, right?
Right.
In his
Yep.
7 Habits. Begin with the end in mind. End result. That's what the vision is. And then the mindset is, I am going to get there. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. Okay? I'll face the trial. I'll face this. And when I get out of here, then, I'm going to start making some changes. And that's that's the habits. The third stool is the habits.
Yeah.
If
So
you're going, you can't get from here, the current reality, to where you want to go, the end result, without taking action,
yeah.
without making corrections.
So you have
You're-
your mindset, your North Star, your intention on who you want to be. You have your vision set on your goals, and then talk to us about how can the habits make those things happen.
Well, habits, that's the action steps. That's the action steps. You cannot get to, you, the habits are what are you putting in your mind? Control the controllables. Okay, what are you thinking about? Are you getting help? Are you clear on? Are you having clarity? Sobriety to me is my superpower. It used to be my runaway, my getaway, but now sobriety is my superpower.
I love that.
It really is. It's my secret sauce because when I'm sober, I'm clear.
Mhm.
I'm making good decisions. I'm
Yep.
I'm I'm triggered by positive habits. Like Og said, if you're going to be a slave, be a slave to good habits.
Yeah.
Good things. The good things that are going to take you from where your current reality is, wherever that is, to where you want to become, the person that you want to become. And for me right now, it's self-love and self-talk. It's like give it up, dude. Own your life. Own it. I don't care what people think anymore. I care what I think. I know who I am. I'm trying to really, really, win more days than I lose
Yeah.
in that sphere, more hours of the day. I have this little the habit, okay? This habit of win the day. And it starts with win the hour, win the minute. I'm a big sports fan, a big sports buff, and sometimes there's ugly wins. You do everything wrong, you make all sorts of mistakes, so many turnovers, this, that, the other. You know what? But at the end of regulation, if you're up by 1 point, it's still a win,
Yeah.
right? It's an
Yeah.
ugly win, but it's a win.
Ugly win. I love that ugly win. Speaking of ugly wins, let's say someone sets out to win the day, but maybe let's say in the morning some major things happen. Having a bad day, frankly. What can you do to go for that ugly win still?
Well, how many hours are there in a day?
24.
24 hours in a day. What is a 1 point win? 12 hours and 1 second. Okay? So, how many hours are left? How can I win the day? If 8 of those were sleeping, you only have 4 hours and 1 second to control. So control the controllables. All right? What am I thinking? What am I doing? What am I feeding my mind? What can I do? What can I listen to? What can I do to win the day? How can I face this adversity that's coming and win the day? It's an ugly day. All I got to do, and maybe you start with win the half hour. So if it's win the half hour, okay, I can 14 minutes and 59 seconds. I can just beat myself up, but I'm going to pull myself out. And that 15 minutes and 1 second, I'm going to win. I'm going to have a positive attitude. I mean, you're going to break it down to the smallest common denominator, whatever it is that works for you, but just win the minute, win the hour, win the day, win the week, win the month. How many days in a month? 30 days. If I can win 16 of those 30 days, I won the month. Win the quarter, win the year, win the decade.
Man,
Just 1 point. One point is a win.
I just love everything you're talking about here. I wish we had more time. Talk about feeding your mind. You know, you talk about feeding your mind, like the automobile university. You know, instead of feeding the mind porn or the body alcohol, feed some positive, uplifting books or audios or podcasts. And if you're having a bad day, go for winning the next 15 minutes or the next half hour. I just love it. Love it. So Glade, it's been an honor for me to have you on the podcast. I am really humbled by your sincerity and your openness and your vulnerability. Um, if someone wants to reach out to you, and I know you are the real estate, you're the real estate man and many other things. If someone wants to reach out to you or learn more about your businesses, where would they go?
Well, probably the best thing is just info, info, info at whynotyou.com. And if you reach out and just reach out that way, I'm happy to send you a free copy of any of my books. You can join my podcast, Why Not You podcast, where I have really amazing people like Eric the Powerful, and we talk about these things, and we really do get raw. These are real people with real stories and real results. And that's, you can follow me there. So
Fantastic. So that's info at whynotyou.com.
yep,
And
spelled out.
spelled out. And you can get a free copy of Think Big.
Think Big and
And
Sugar Beach to Shanghai, which is really the Sugar Beach to Shanghai is where the kind of start. It really starts from when I was a little kid on the farm and through that whole Hong Kong experience.
right. Well, Glade, thanks again for being on. And it's a real pleasure to have you on. And I am a big Zig Ziglar fan. I like to close with this quote from Zig that says, "You are what you are and where you are from what has gone into your mind, but you can change what you are and you can change where you are by changing what goes into your magnificent mind." Thanks, Glade.
I love that, Eric. Thank you so much, and again, kudos to you for what you're doing. I really love all the work, the hard work that you're changing lives, and I want you to know that.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
This is Porn Talk Live. Here is your host. Thanks for listening. If you're struggling with porn or sex addiction, reach out to Eric at powerfuleric.com.